Hi, I'm Brian Graham with the Woodworkers Club here in Rockville, Maryland. And what I want to show you today is an article I wrote a number of years ago on how to sharpen and hone your mortise and chisel bits. I have in front of me all the supplies and accessories we're going to go with today. And we're going to start here. Most of the time when you buy a mortise and chisel bit out of the box, you need to sharpen it right away because of the fact that, as you can see, there's burrs all on the chisel. And there's also burrs and non-sharpened corners, sharpened points and corners on this chisel that need to be fixed. One of the things that most magazines and articles talk about are the diamond type hones, reamers for the chisel, and reamers for the chisel. And they're all relatively good quality. They'll pick up the angle and let you sharpen them, but that only addresses one problem. That's just the cone inside. What we have to do is not only do you have to sharpen the cone that's inside the chisel, but we also have to sharpen the outside, and we have to sharpen the bit itself, because without the bit being sharp, your chisel just won't engage into the wood and go to the depth you need. So what I'm going to do first is we want to blacken the inside of the chisel, because we want to be able to see where we've taken material off. Now, I could go ahead and use the reamer to ream it out, but I don't always like that answer, because the fact is it's not always the same between each manufacturer, but I want more control. So what I'm going to do is I grab my hone. I have oil. This is an oil stone. You have 3 different stones here that we use. And by the way, we are going to have some kits here available soon that'll have all 3 stones and a copy of my article on how to sharpen and hone. So what you're going to want to do is, after your oil, you take your stone and you start running it inside of the chisel. And what you want to do, because you've taken the magic marker in there, you want to make sure that you get all the marker out of the way and start to see the shiny steel. What this is doing is creating all of your, as you can see in the picture there, we're starting to really see all of our high spots start to show up. And it's also working on the points. Your points of your chisel have to be very sharp, and this allows it to dig into the wood to give you a beautifully square hole. So it just takes a little time. And again, for demo's sake, we're only going to run a little bit through just to kind of show you. And again, dip a little more oil on. Keep it lubed, because what you want to do is float all those grinding particles that you're taking out by hand. And the reason I like it by hand is the fact that I can feel the wire edge or the burr being pushed to the outside of the square, because we're going to take that off as well. So here you are inside you're starting to see everything come up really sharp. The main thing is, when you take your finger along the outside edge, you're going to feel a slight wire edge or a burr. So what I do there is, now you don't want to change the angle of the square. You just want to be able to break that wire edge off, and just do all 4 sides, just kind of wick them around, take your fingers across, and now we have very sharp chisels. You look to make sure your points are sharp, and you can see that all the high spots, I could go a little deeper if I want, but right now I know that my cutting edge all around the square is sharp. All right, so the next is, we have, these are tapered stones, but we also have an auger bit stone. The auger bit stone is shaped very similar, or does the same thing as a auger bit file. And if your drill bits are in really bad shape, sometimes you gotta file it. And that's what your auger bit file looks like. So again, what we're gonna do, dip it in our oil. Now, before I get started, let me blacken the edges here. you have three components on here you really have to pay attention to. And what that is you have the wing. I'll point to it. The wing right here. You have your point, and then you have your cutting edge. That's going to do the work. The wing is going to cut your circle. The point keeps it in place going straight down, and then your cutting edge will pull the chips out. So the auger bit stone has a smaller edge and a larger edge. So we're going to take the smaller edge first, and what I like to do is just go along the wing and make sure that I get a nice, if you can see that, I'm starting to see the marker disappear because I'm getting an even scratch pattern and getting away all the marker, but you notice now we're starting to get a very sharp edge there. But I still feel a burr on the outside, and that's what you want to achieve. Get a little more oil. And what we're going to do here is we want to sharpen very carefully just that point. You're going to have a three-sided point, and you want to make sure that you don't hit the wing or the cutting edge. So just go around it. If you feel comfortable, you could clamp it in the vise as well. I'm just used to holding on to it and kind of going with the flow there. So as you can see, we are already starting to see the shine again from the point all the way around. Now the real critical area comes, besides the wing, but is the cutting edge. That cutting edge right there. So what you want to do, instead of coming this way with the stone, because you have a tendency to round over the cutting edge, what you want to do is go from the cutting edge to the trailing angle. And you just want to take the flat part of that stone, and you'll feel it start to grab. You'll hear a little squeak once in a while. And all you're doing is going from the cutting edge to the trailing angle constantly. And that way, you'll always have a straight cutting edge without rolling it over, because as soon as you roll that edge over, you won't get it cutting anymore. It won't have a good clean edge and shear angle. And here in just a second, I'll wipe it off, and you can see how quickly that became sharp. Now, there's burrs all the way around. So what you want to do is, with the cutting edge, in a vertical position, you take it and put it on your stone and you roll it. And what that's doing for you is you don't want to round that point off, so I'm going in a vertical position with that cutting edge, putting it flush on the stone and rolling it. So what that does for you, it now gets rid of the burr on the back. But if you'll notice, my cutting edge is also not rounded over. So now, you have that precise edge to go into your chisel.